The rain was falling hard that evening, the kind of rain that made the whole world feel heavy and quiet. Keanu was driving through the city, keeping his mind calm, trying to find peace after a long day. He had always been someone who valued silence, someone who carried emotions deep inside, someone who tried to heal others even when he himself was still learning how to heal. He slowed his car near a quiet street where the lights were dim, and the world seemed to be standing still. That was when he saw it. A black car, parked alone at the side of the road, windows fogged from the inside. Something about it felt wrong. There was a stillness, a sadness in the air. Keanu could sense emotions even when they were unspoken. And something told him that someone inside that car needed help. Not loud help, not dramatic rescue, but quiet understanding. He stopped his car and stepped out into the rain. He walked slowly toward the parked car, the streetlight reflecting small silver drops on his dark jacket. As he came closer, he could see a silhouette inside. A woman hunched slightly forward, shoulders trembling, crying. He took another step. His heart felt tight. And then he saw her. It was Sandra Bullock. Her face was partly hidden, but her tears were clear. She was pressing her hand against the steering wheel, breathing shakily, like she had been holding back too many emotions for too long. She did not notice him yet. She was lost inside herself, inside something painful. Keanu felt something deep inside him shift. They had shared laughter, memories, silent understanding, and a connection that was never fully spoken, but always felt. Even if life had taken them in different directions, even if time had pulled them apart, the care he had for her never faded. It lived quietly, like a small candle in a dark room. He reached for her door handle. Slow, gentle, respectful. He opened the door carefully, not wanting to startle her. The sound of rain softened around them, as if the world itself paused. Sandra lifted her head slowly, her eyes red and filled with sadness. When she saw him, her expression changed. Surprise, relief, pain, love, all at once. Like an emotional storm she had tried to hide from everyone, but could not hide from him. Keanu? She whispered. His voice was soft, steady, like a grounding presence. I'm here, he said gently. You don't have to be alone right now. And that was when she broke. Tears came stronger, shaking her shoulders, and she covered her face with her hands. She did not try to be strong. Not with him. Not now. Keanu didn't ask questions. He didn't try to fix everything in one moment. He simply placed one hand very lightly on her back, offering warmth without pressure. His touch said what words couldn't. You are safe, you can breathe. I am with you. The rain continued falling. But somehow, the world felt quieter. In that moment, two hearts that had once walked side by side finally found each other again. Not through grand romance, not through sudden passion, but through shared human pain and gentle presence. The rain kept falling outside, but inside the car there was only quiet breathing and the soft echo of held in pain slowly releasing. Sandra wiped her eyes with the back of her sleeve, the way someone does when they have already cried too much. She tried to speak, but her voice broke before the words came. Keanu did not rush her. He leaned slightly closer, not invading her space, but being close enough so she knew she was not alone. Finally, she took a shaky breath. I did not know where else to go, she whispered. Her words came out small, like someone tired of being strong all the time. Keanu nodded slowly. It's okay, he said. Sometimes we just need a place to fall, and someone who won't let us break. Sandra stared at him, her eyes searching, like she was trying to understand how someone could still care so quietly and so deeply after so many years. There was no judgment in his expression, no pressure, no questions, just presence, real presence, the kind that heals without speaking. She took another breath, slower this time. I tried to be strong, she said, voice trembling. I tried, Keanu. I really tried. But it all became too heavy. Keanu nodded again, listening with his whole being. Strength is not never breaking, he said softly. Strength is allowing yourself to feel when it hurts. Sandra closed her eyes, letting those words settle inside her. No one had said something like that to her in a long time. People saw her as a bright star, admired, confident, composed, but they did not see the quiet battles she fought alone. The heartbreak, the exhaustion, the pressure of always being the one who lifts others. She finally whispered. He left. Keanu felt his chest tighten. He didn't need more explanation. Heartbreak has a universal shape, and he recognized it immediately. Sandra continued, her voice barely holding. I thought it was forever. I thought I found someone who understood me. But he walked away. Just like that. And I don't know what I did wrong. Keanu's voice was low but steady. You didn't do anything wrong. Sandra shook her head, tears forming again. Then why wasn't I enough? Keanu's expression softened with something deep and almost aching. He leaned in just a little. You were enough. You have always been enough. Sometimes people leave because they cannot hold the depth of someone like you. Not because you lacked something, but because they did. Sandra looked at him, and her face crumpled with emotion. It was the kind of truth that hurts and heals at the same time. She pressed one hand against her heart as if trying to keep it from falling apart again. I didn't want you to see me like this, she said quietly. Broken. Keanu reached out and gently took her hand. His touch was warm and patient, like he had been waiting years to give that quiet comfort. You are not broken, he whispered. You are hurting. There is a difference. Hurt can heal. Broken loses its shape. You still have your shape. I can see it. Her tears fell slower now, softer, not desperate anymore, not collapsing, just releasing. She looked at him the way someone looks at a safe place they forgot existed, outside. The rain began to ease. Inside, something small and fragile began to mend. The rain had softened into a light drizzle now, tiny drops sliding slowly down the car windows. The world outside was calming, but inside, emotions still moved like deep waves. Sandra leaned back in her seat, breathing more steadily, her tears slowing as Keanu sat beside her, still holding her hand with gentle patience. He did not rush her, and in that silence, she felt something she had not felt in a long time, safety. After a few quiet minutes, Sandra spoke again, her voice steadier but still fragile. I kept telling myself I was strong enough to handle everything, that I didn't need to lean on anyone. I thought if I just smiled enough, worked enough, stayed busy enough, the hurt would disappear. Keanu listened closely, his expression soft with empathy. He had lived enough life to understand every word she said. Hiding pain does not take it away, he said gently. It only buries it deeper where it grows heavy. Sandra nodded slowly, her fingers tightening around his hand just a little. You always had a way of saying the right thing, she whispered, even when you were hurting too. Keanu looked out the window for a moment, the reflection of city lights flickering in his eyes. He did not speak for a few breaths. The silence was not empty, it was thoughtful. I know what it feels like to lose people, he said quietly, to feel like your heart is carrying too many memories. Sometimes it feels like grief never ends. It just becomes part of you, and you learn how to walk with it. Sandra's eyes softened, not with sorrow this time, but with recognition. You always carried your pain quietly, she said, not because you hid it, but because you respected it. Keanu offered a small, tired smile. Pain teaches us who we are, he replied, but kindness teaches us who we can still be. The car filled with a warm, gentle stillness. Sandra wiped the last trace of tears from her cheeks. She looked more grounded now, more present, as if something inside her had settled, even if just slightly. After a moment, she asked, Keanu, why were you here tonight, on this street? He hesitated, then answered honestly. I was driving to clear my mind, he said. I was thinking about the past, about us, about how life keeps changing, but some feelings stay. Sandra looked at him carefully, her eyes searching again, but this time not out of fear, out of hope. Do you ever think, she began slowly, that maybe we were meant to meet again? Not for a movie, not for the world, but for us? Keanu took a deep breath. He looked at her with a softness that held years of quiet care. I think, he said gently, some people are linked in ways time cannot undo. Her breath caught just slightly. Something inside her heart lifted, not healed completely, but awakened. Then, before either of them could say more, a sudden loud knock hit the window of the car. They both turned sharply. Someone was standing outside. Someone who looked upset. Someone who knew Sandra. The knock on the window was sharp and sudden, cutting through the soft stillness inside the car. Sandra froze, her fingers still intertwined with Keanu's. The outside world, which had felt far away a moment ago, had found its way back. Standing outside was a man, not angry, but tense. His jaw was tight, his breathing uneven. He was someone who knew Sandra's story, someone who had witnessed her fall apart earlier. Maybe a friend, maybe someone who cared in his own complicated way. Sandra slowly lowered the window. Rain-scented air drifting in. "Sandra," the man said quietly, trying to keep his voice steady. "I have been looking for you. I was worried." Sandra looked at him with tired eyes. Not cold, not distant, just tired. "I just needed time," she whispered. He nodded, but his eyes moved to Keanu, and in that second, a silent conversation happened. Not hostility, but something heavy. Something like realization. He understood who Keanu was to her. Not in fame, not in history, but in the heart. The man swallowed. "I did not mean to intrude," he said softly. I didn't want you to be alone tonight." Sandra shook her head gently. "I wasn't," she replied. Keanu said nothing, his presence quiet, steady. The man hesitated, then stepped back slightly. "When you're ready, we should talk," he said to Sandra. "You don't have to decide anything right now. Just don't close yourself off." Sandra nodded. Her voice was calm. "I won't." He gave one last uncertain look, then turned and walked away down the wet street, disappearing into the soft blur of streetlights and rain. The window closed again. Silence returned, but it was a different silence now. Sandra turned to Keanu. Her voice was gentle. "That was my close friend. He has been there for me through a lot. He means well." She paused. "But he wants me to heal fast, to move on fast, to get up and smile fast. And I can't do that. Not yet." Keanu nodded, understanding completely. "He cares in the only way he knows," he said. "But not everyone understands slow healing, quiet healing, the kind that takes time." Sandra looked down at her hands, then back at him. "You do," she whispered. Keanu's single quotes gaze held hers, steady and warm. "Because I have been there, and because I care about you. Not just the happy you, not just the public you, but this you, the one who is hurting and still trying to breathe." Her eyes filled again. But these tears were not heartbreak. They were recognition. Connection. Truth. Double quotes. "Keanu," she said softly, "why do you always show up when the world is too heavy for me?" He took a slow breath, his voice quiet, but honest in a way that did not need explanation. "Because you have always been the one person I could not walk away from," he said. The rain finally stopped. Neither of them moved. Their hearts did. The night had grown quiet again, and the streetlights reflected soft gold over the rain-soaked road. Inside the car, Sandra was still looking at Keanu, her eyes full of questions she could not ask yet. Something about his words still echoed in her mind. "You have always been the one person I could not walk away from." Those words carried weight, like they came from a place of truth, not romance, but something deeper. Something about connection, about understanding. She took a slow breath, steadying herself. "I don't know how you always know when to show up," she said quietly. "Every time my world starts falling apart, somehow you're there." Keanu smiled softly, his eyes kind but serious. "Maybe it's not me showing up," he said. "Maybe it's the world trying to remind you you're not alone." His voice was gentle, but his tone carried meaning, like he had lived enough pain to understand what it felt like to lose everything and still have to move forward. Sandra looked out the window, her reflection shimmering faintly in the glass. "You always say things that sound simple," she whispered, "but they stay with me." Keanu's eyes softened. "It's because they're real," he said, "and real things stay." She turned back toward him. Her face looked calmer now, but something else was there too, a quiet longing, the kind that doesn't ask for anything but still hopes for something small. A moment, a truth, a breath shared in peace. "Do you ever get tired?" she asked suddenly. "Of what?" Keanu asked gently. "Of being the strong one, the calm one, the one everyone turns to when they need comfort." He looked down for a moment before answering. "Sometimes," he admitted, "but I've learned that giving doesn't mean losing. Helping others doesn't mean forgetting yourself. It just means you've found a way to turn your pain into something that can light someone else's darkness. Her eyes softened. So you carry your pain like a lantern, she whispered. He smiled a little. Something like that. There was a pause. A soft, honest pause. Then Sandra asked quietly, "And what if your own lantern runs out of light?" Keanu looked at her for a long moment. Then he reached out, took her hand, and said, "Then you sit with someone who remembers what light looks like, until it comes back." Her breath trembled, not from sadness, but from something gentle, something healing. Tears filled her eyes again, but this time, they were warm, peaceful. "You make it sound so easy," she whispered. "It's not easy," he said softly. "It's just possible." For the first time that night, Sandra smiled. Not the public smile the world knew, not the professional one, but a real one. Tired, fragile, and true. "You're still the same, Keanu," she said quietly. He looked at her with warmth. "And you're still the reason I believe people can be good," he replied. The rain had stopped completely now. The clouds were parting, and the faintest hint of dawn touched the sky. But before the light could fully rise, Sandra's phone buzzed on the dashboard. She glanced at it and froze. Her face changed instantly. Keanu noticed. "What is it?" he asked softly. She looked at him, her voice trembling. "It's him," she whispered. "He's outside." The air shifted when she said those words. The warmth inside the car seemed to fade, replaced with something tense and sharp. Sandra's phone screen glowed in the dim light, showing his name. The one who walked away. The one who left her heart shaking in pieces. The one she had cried for before Keanu arrived. Keanu didn't react with anger. He didn't flinch. His expression stayed steady, calm, grounded. He simply looked at her with the same quiet strength he had been offering all night. Outside, footsteps approached slowly. A soft knock came to the window. Not loud, not angry, just uncertain. Sandra turned her head and saw him standing there. His eyes looked tired, regret heavy in his posture. The rain had wet his clothes, and he looked like someone who had been walking for a long time, without knowing where he was going. She hesitated. Keanu watched her with full respect. He did not tighten his hold on her hand. He did not try to pull her closer. He did not try to stop her. He simply let her choose. She opened the door slowly and stepped out into the cool night air. Keanu remained seated, giving her space. He trusted her heart, even if it hurt. The man took a slow breath. "Sandra," he said, voice soft. "I came back because I realized I made a mistake." She didn't respond yet. Her eyes were steady, no longer breaking like before. He continued, "I left because I got scared. Scared of how much I cared. Scared of how real it felt. I thought leaving would protect me, but all it did was hurt you. And I am sorry. I truly am." The street was quiet. The world seemed to wait for her answer. Sandra's voice was calm. "I wanted you to come back," she said. "I hoped you would. I waited. But the day you left, something inside me changed. I learned that love is not supposed to make you feel abandoned." He looked down, guilt in every line of his face. She continued, her voice steady. "I deserved someone who stayed." The man looked up, pain filling his eyes. "Is it too late?" he asked. Sandra looked at him for a long, quiet moment. Then she turned and looked inside the car, at Keanu, sitting there, not asking, not wanting, just being, a presence that never left. Her voice was soft, but clear. "It's not about too late," she said. "It's about what I need now." She placed a gentle hand on the man's arm. "No anger, no hate, just closure. Go home," she whispered. "Heal, learn, grow. But I cannot go back to who I was before." The man nodded slowly, tears forming. "I understand," he said. And he walked away, disappearing into the quiet dawn. Sandra returned to the car and sat beside Keanu again. She didn't cry. She didn't shake. She simply breathed. Keanu looked at her softly. "Are you okay?" he asked. She nodded. "I am," she whispered. "For the first time. I truly am." Keanu smiled, a small, warm smile, the kind that said everything without words. She leaned her head against his shoulder, and he rested his head lightly against hers. No labels, no promises, just two hearts finally breathing in the same rhythm. The first light of morning touched the city, and healing began.